It's a time-honored tradition, passed down from generations. And even though we don't know what tomorrow holds, we can do our part today to ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. Join today and help us ensure the future.
Well, welcome to episode number 22 of According to Flint. Unlike most of the episodes we do, live in studio. Got some guys in town. Thought I'd bring some, I'd say old buddies, best buddies.
Oh, now we're buddies?
Now we're buddies. The one and only, the two of our U.S. Border Patrol protection team, two of the greatest bullfighters of all time. That's right. Throwing it out there. Cody Webster, Frank Newsom. So what have you guys been doing? Everything good? Look at us. Live in person.
Just waiting on you to come pick us up.
Yeah, I know.
Running late.
I know.
Can't wait to get here, you know.
I know. I do got to give you a compliment. Well, I always compliment Frank. I got to give Cody Webster a compliment. As we do this, it's morning as we record. You may not be listening in the morning.
Like, is there something going on like you need to tell me about? Like,
no,
you're never this friendly or...
Well, it's for media purposes.
Okay.
But I worry all the time, you know, when we do these on Zoom or live, I'm always checking with people. Hey, are you good? Or I worry are you guys good to do this? I get a text message 15 minutes before I'm supposed to pick you up. Let's go. Are you a morning guy?
No, but we're just sitting around. It's a time change, I think, too. Has got us.
Yeah, it's earlier for you guys. I know.
Yeah, you know, I'm always up early.
I know one morning guy.
Right.
This guy. See, Frank and I, we're in a little different generation than you. I remember seeing my grandparents and my parents, they get up at 6:30 in the morning and drink coffee, and I'd be like, why are old people like that? And now?
Yep.
That's us, isn't it?
I figured it out now. Yeah, that's why I'm doing that too. It drives you crazy when you ain't got nothing to do.
I remember leaving for the airport in Las Vegas one morning, about 5:30 in the morning, and I'm tired, dragging my luggage through. Here's Frank sitting in there eating breakfast in the South Point. So, but I do appreciate it, guys. And as we do this, caught you here at the PBR in Billings, Montana, and you know, we talked to what a good opportunity. We sit and visit a lot. But, I mean, for me to get you two together, all the years I've known you, I've never got you in a place where I can say, okay, tell me this story. Like
maybe we should.
You came up, yeah, and maybe we don't want to know. But, you know, I tell people, I talked to my brother before we did this. I said, I got Frank and Cody. I said, you know, Frank practically kind of raised Cody, but I don't really know. He's been around you and bullfighting in your place since he was just a little guy, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was 11 when I first met him, you know. And his mom actually used to babysit Dia, you know, my wife. And she's like, hey, this kid, you know, and he wants to meet you, you know. And
of course.
And I know, and she was kind of telling me this, you know, the story of it. And I'm like, whatever, you know, bring him over, whatever. And, like, I just remember seeing him, you know, and he's like, he just had this, like, he didn't want an autograph. He didn't want none of that. He just wanted to fight bulls.
At that age, at 11.
Yeah, like he's 11, you know, a little old scrawny thing. And so I was like, all right, so we get out there and get the dummy out and get started, make a few rounds. And I run over him pretty good. And, like, that dummy at that time was old, and it had a piece of angle iron on it. And it'd cut you, you know, and it cut the crap out of him.
There's blood everywhere.
So I'm like, that hurt, huh? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you want to quit? Nope. And I mean, he never, you know, and that was just so like, all right, let's go then, you know, and from that day on, he was just always there, you know.
So do you know, like even at that age, 11 years old, probably that day, did it click in your mind that he might have the right frame of mind here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he just had that look in his eye, you know, and it's like, you could tell it, damn, that hurt, but let's keep going, you know.
That to me, I was always, as a kid, a little timid going around in a situation like that. I could see myself maybe not doing it at all. You must have been the same at 11 as now. So you knew him. Was he famous to you, or was he just
Oh,
Frank
yeah.
down the road? I mean, what did you think of him?
Well, like I just, like being just a tiny baby, like like my mom would always, she still talks about it, of like how we'd go to the local rodeos every year. We'd always go to the small bull ridings around there, and then which they went to barrel races seemed like every day of the week.
So your mom was
Barrel racing,
Yeah.
and my aunt and everybody. So like it was my mom, my aunt, and myself. We'd get in a single cab Chevrolet, and we'd go to the barrel races or the rodeos and camp out, hang out, and so like I knew like like at a real young age during the barrel race, I'd be over in the corner fighting bulls in the whatever dirt I could find or playing around, and then fast forwarding to kind of in grade school, where you have to go in and check out the book, out of the library. So like I found this going through there, and they had like this series of like, it was like rodeo books, and I was scrolling through there. Of course, I hated reading, hated anything to do with school, but I was going through them books, and I was flipping through, and it was all about bull riding, and it's him at Fort Worth.
Oh, no kidding.
With his dog, doing her act on the barrel, and then it had a bunch of bullfighting pictures in there too. So, needless to say, I never returned that book.
You still have it. Do you know where it is?
I believe it's at my mom's house. I'm pretty sure.
And man, can you imagine the fine
So
at the library?
so like I had my eye on him then, and then watching the finals and the PBR and everything, the red and white stripes is pretty hard to miss. So like I always had my eye on him, and then I think was it Paul's Valley?
Yeah,
There's like just an open bull riding in Paul's Valley, and like I'm a little bitty kid, and like I take my video camera with me everywhere, just to video.
Yeah.
Like I take it to the bullfights, I take it to just anywhere that they're bucking bulls or bullfighting would be going on. I'd be filming it because that's what we watched, or that's what I watched.
That was actually the same night that me and Dia got back together, And,
Oh, okay.
And so it was kind of cool. There was a lot happening that night. A lot got started that night.
Yeah.
A
whole lot.
A whole lot got started.
Yeah.
But, that's funny. You bring up, there's a picture of you, like, being a clown, right? I
Right.
mean, people, there was however many decades or a couple decades ago where it split, where bullfighters are bullfighters. We don't wear makeup anymore, and here's the clown. But even, I used to go to Denver with Eddie Hatfield and John Brogan. They were out in the arena helping me with clown acts. You helped me with clown acts, and you had like do you have a mule
I had
or
a pony,
pony,
and then I had a donkey at one time. But yeah, I tried being funny and trying to do all that. I wasn't very good at it.
Oh. No, I never saw it all.
He's not real funny.
But here was the thing. There was a certain demographic of those, like I said, Eddie and John and you, and helping the clown with his clown acts was kind of part of the deal.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, it kept it lighthearted. Lloyd Ketchum used to be great at that. He'd jump in. Joe Bumgardner was hit and miss. Then there was some young guys coming up out west that would say, this being funny, that's your job. Maybe you ought to pay me to help with your act. I'm like, we're all in the same thing. So that generation of the bullfighters being clowns, I liked. I thought it was kind of fun, at least a little bit, to go out. It lightened the day a little bit.
Well,
I thought
it was fun, And there's a lot of times that I remember Jim Bob Feller making me do stuff that I dress up like a woman, or do you had to dang sure get out of your comfort zone and get out there and try to do good. But I don't know. I miss them days. I thought they were a lot of fun.
Well, inevitably, sometimes to break the monotony, to change things up, I'll pull you guys into what I'm doing in the PBR arena. Now, there's some guys that they leave me alone, but you've been around Frank enough. Like Webb, we've done the Tin Man. I don't know. I think as serious as your job is, and here at PBRs, it's, you're going to fight 40, 50 bulls a night. So it is a little different. But the crowd loves the engagement, and it shows you have personality, and it does lighten your day a little. I always appreciate you guys throw my hat, you mess around. I like it.
It's entertainment, and I mean, we got to, as serious as things get, we've got to always remember that if we don't have the fans and and everything that goes into to be able to do our job, then like we're going to be without a job. It just is what it is, and it's getting away from that. It seems like kind of everywhere. Like a lot of times, a guy's got to step back and remember, hey, we're here to put on a show, and especially like within the rodeo scene of things, where to me it feels like first coming on, getting my pro card and getting to be a part of that, like there's a lot more meaner bulls, so to say. And now with the competitions and everybody's trying to get bulls to the PBR, like them bulls are getting bucked so much at such a young age that, there's really the aspect of mean bulls and chasing people and all that's kind of going away.
Your
Not
role,
as many of them. Yeah.
your role almost has changed, not just in the rodeo clown, now you're a bullfighter, but in the style of bulls. The analogy I kind of use is it's the opposite. When people would break a horse, you get on that horse and he'd buck and you rode him till he didn't buck. But the way they're breeding horses now, besides bucking horses, they don't buck anymore.
No.
People don't want to mess with it.
They want to be good.
Yeah.
They want to be good.
And bull guys are kind of the same way.
Same way.
Why do you want to mess with something that's tearing down fences?
Yep.
And mean. And we see it. There's some bulls. What was the seven dust? Seven dust?
Yep.
Remember him?
Yep.
He'd come around and he'd hunt everything in the arena. And as he started bucking better and being a better bull, then he just started going out the arena.
He's still going to try you a little bit, but he quit quicker. He wanted to leave a little quicker.
Yeah. Was there a point, you're 11 years old and go to his house? How many times were you like, this ain't worth it? Was there a time?
I never had
that was your path.
I knew I was set out. That's what I was going to be. I do like one thing that really sticks out is, being, maybe 11, 12 years old, going to a practice pen and we're bucking a bunch of big bulls and like, I'm right in the middle of it with him, like I don't know what he was thinking. And like, I look back and see videos and pictures and things when I was just a little tiny kid out there with big bulls, but I remember like being out there and we were working and fighting and this bull catches me and like hits me in the hip and flips me out across her while I land up against the bottom of the bottom rail of the fence. And like, it's an outdoor pen, so all that dirt would blow across her and kind of build up. So that bar is not that high off the ground, at this point.
Yeah.
And my arm went through it, and that bar is up against me here. Then that bull got on top of me, and boy, it snapped 2 or 3 of them ribs. And being just a little kid, like, it hurts now, Dang sure the first time I broke my ribs, that's the first time I ever broke any ribs. And I get up, and I can't breathe, and
We got to go back, though.
I was wondering. Okay.
This is the thing about Cody that I had the hardest part was holding him back away from them meaner, older bulls. Because he was, even at 12, like he's wanting to get in there, and do what the grown men were doing. Like, and I could see all that talent, but it's like, dude, I don't want to kill you yet, Like,
Not yet.
There's dead days I wanted to, but it's like, so most of the time, and then he's bugging me so much. And then that day we're going through a bunch of calves. Well, this one rolls in there. And he's like, come on, man, let me work this bull. Like it wasn't like I'm feeding him to the wolves, and he was still a little bit young, and I really wasn't.
A little bit?
Well, I really did. I really
go to jail now.
I really wasn't ready for it, but it was like, all right, man, you've been, go ahead. I wanted to feed him, because heck, he's been working hard and he's earned it. Well, then that bull did wad him up and hurt him, and I knew it hurt him. Well, he comes over there, and I'm sitting there thinking, how am I going to handle this? Because he's got it, this is reality. This is what you want. Yeah. So, like, he's hurting like shit. And I'm like, well, and he's kind of looking at me like, what do you think? And I'm like, well.
I couldn't cry. I couldn't do nothing.
Denny McCoy's
it hurt
niece
so
was
bad.
over there videoing all this, and I was like, well, if you're hurting too bad, you can go video, and she can probably come fight bulls, whatever. And I just walked off, and I look back, and he's just gritting his teeth, and he's pissed.
That look that he gets.
And so he bears down, and I'm just like, Lord, please don't let us kill him today. I don't want to kill him today, and. So he.
But that's a turning point.
But he finishes the day out, and it kind of because I remember some guys doing that with me, and like we were working and weren't fighting bulls, but we were, And it's like, hey, we still got a job to do. We're not done, you know. And it's
Job
like,
ain't over.
We're not done until we're done, you know. And if you're not hurt that bad, we're going to finish this job, you know. And so I wanted, you know, that was kind of that moment where I had an opportunity to set that in.
That's you know, that attitude reminds me of a story at Denver one time. There used to be a bad corner there, and a guy was hung up, and Eddie Hatfield, John Brogan, they're going. So I'm coming in to maybe straighten something out, you know.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, pickup man was riding his horse in, thinking he was going to rope, and runs into me with the chest of his horse, and hurt some ribs. I think I broke a rib here, and my shoulder did something. And we have like 15 performances to go. And they want us to fight a bull every performance there. And I told John Brogan, I can't lift my barrel up. I got my shoulder hurts in these ribs. I don't know what to do. And he said, you know what? We're all hurting.
Yeah.
You know, we got to finish this deal out, toughen up, and walk that sumbitch in.
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah.
And I was mad. And I'm like, freaking Brogan. I look back now, and that's the mentality. Hey, sorry, but this is what we do for a living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look back now, and I appreciated it because it did. Hey, it's still hurt.
Well, there's so many, like, you know, like, and it's kind of cool, like, seeing, like, now, like all the times that I've went through or we've been through, like, being just so beat up and being at that point. But, like, there's always that goes back to that day, you know, like, and gritting your teeth and getting tough.
And that was one of the first PBRs he actually got to work. I got to bring him to Pueblo. And, like, the second bull out, catches him hard up against his post, outgate post, and breaks 2 ribs. And I'm like, we still got 40, 50 bulls left, you know. And so,
and this is when,
you know,
old Frank kind of like coming here. He was telling the pilots, like, we gotta ride with all the airplane pilots from the airport to the motel. And so Frank's like, man, I tell you what, I think I'm flying one of them planes. Like, I just don't understand why we can't just take it off in the rain. It's just a little rain. I mean, so, like, we're setting up, me and Ezekiel setting up front, and he's telling these pilots how to fly these big old airplanes.
There's an opportunity here, you know.
Finally, I have the chance to sit him down.
So, you know, just like that, I'm hurting like hell. And he's like, oh, man, I got it. I know how Rich and Dave, they tape us up. Got it.
Oh, to tape you up.
Oh, yeah. After I broke my ribs, you know, we get through the
night.
No, it was that night. It was a one-night deal. So we get in the locker room, and it's 15, 20 minutes before the short round. And he's like, take that vest off. So, and I get my vest off, you know, and he just starts wrapping this tape around my ribs. I'm just standing there just getting it. Well, we come out, and, like, you know, when you're just sitting there and you're not breathing hard and everything else, you're like, that feels all right, you know. Nothing feels good at this point.
Right.
The first bull out is like that red hot HD pages, and this guy hangs up, and it's bad.
Take off. Lasts forever.
Well, like, it's so bad. Like, I mean, we go up and down the front of them chutes, and, like, Frank went in, Jesse went in, I went in, like, there. And finally, I'm hurting so bad. Like, somehow this bull kind of lines out, and I just get a hold of his tail.
The bull.
The bull's tail, and I just kind of sit down and start skiing because I can keep my arm here up against some ribs. Look like I'm doing something because it's just killing me. I can't freaking breathe. I can't do nothing because that tape is so tight. Well, then every time I would breathe, it would expand against some broke ribs. And, like, you talk about painful. It hurt. Well, that bull lines out, and they had the shark cages in the middle. With two
I remember
panels.
when he had 2 of them. Yeah.
So, like, it's a full-on arena, and we make an entire lap around that arena. And after it is, like, they were trying to get this guy, you know, up. I think he broke his leg or something. Yeah. And, like, I go over and I'm like, somebody's got to cut this tape off. You can't breathe or can't do anything. And
he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, he can fly airplanes. He'd
do it all.
Sports medicine.
It worked, didn't it? You lived.
Here we are.
I don't know.
You know what's
and hey, what made it that much worse, though, is he gets mad the morning we're leaving. The car's froze up or something, and he snaps.
Because that was a winter event. That was January.
Yeah, he snaps the handle off the car. Well, we drive all the way there.
It was plastic, and you know, and it was kind of that frost had it kind of jammed shut.
No, it wasn't an accident. It's technology. It is technology. He's not a technology guy at all.
Well, there's something to that. But anyways, like, so I gave it a little tug, and the door handle kind of come off in my hands, you know. Well, then he has to drive it home. So with them ribs, every time he gets out, you got to crawl through the passenger side of this little bitty car. And so I ended up catching a flight and going to California, working a different bull riding, and he gets to drive home for like 10 hours in that little car, climbing in and out of the damn passenger side.
I broke them ribs, getting to the house with the no handle and crawling through. Can't really cough or do much because them ribs are hurting so bad. Catch pneumonia, end up going to the doctor, getting pneumonia, knocked out of me, and then like 4 days later, we're going to Jackson, Tennessee, I think, for another PBR, and it's just there's just talking back on that day though, it all goes back to that being 11 years old, and and I see it so much with doing all the camps that we're doing and the students that's coming in, that's the reality of this. Like, there's days that
you can't make it like soft to them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
completely.
At some point, you got to face like this is what y'all are getting into. If you really want to do this, you know what I mean. You got to decide that's what you want.
Right.
And
it's seeing like I think
talent only goes so far. Then you got to have
Right.
that.
You know what I think about as you're talking? I always, my mind works different where I think bigger picture, society, what's happening. You're 11, 12 years old, you got broken ribs, and you talk about that moment made me tougher, it made me such and such. We run herd on kids so much now, all of a sudden they're 25 years old. They've never had that moment of either, now I'm not necessarily saying 12-year-old kids got to break ribs, but they never have that moment of real strong adversity, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain. So when they get older, when it happens, they're screwed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the best soccer player. What am I going to do? It's a bigger picture, and I think it speaks to the culture we come from. And we went through that in this last year. People would say, well, these Cowboys don't even believe in this virus stuff. No, we believe. We just know.
Yeah.
We have that
It's
mental
one more
thing. We're
thing.
not scared of it. It's one more thing we're going to take on.
Yeah.
Didn't you? I mean,
Well,
don't you see that?
it's seeing like so many, like, especially going back to the camps that we're doing, like there's so many guys coming around that's wanting to learn bullfighting, and it's like at some point, like, that I guess they just think like that we woke up one day and that we fight bulls as good as we do, and I'm not saying that in a cocky way or bragging, but like, I'm 18, 19 years into what I'm doing. Frank's 47 years into what he's doing.
68 years.
So like, but there's so many days that people don't see that, I'm sitting in San Antonio and I'm busted up, broke ribs and, torn ligaments in my knee or whatever. And you can't even get out of bed.
Right.
But somehow, some way you dig deep and find that last ditch effort to get up and go do your job and seeing, I'm like, I know that's something that has really sculpted me is seeing, and sometimes it's not good for how tough this guy is because, there is days that we need to lay around and maybe heal up and we don't,
what you just said, I probably didn't tell you, but we did a Q&A. We do these Q&As before PBR shows, and people always ask, how do I get into that? You have people all the time. I have people come on all the time. How do I get into what you're doing? I want to do what you're doing. First of all, we're in this niche of profession that culturally, it's really hard to just break into it. We were immersed in it as kids, so we know the ins and outs. And I remember I asked you, and here these people are sitting there. I said, you got to be honest here. Don't polish it up for these fans, because a guy had said, when's it too late to start fighting bulls? And I said,
oh, I can do that.
So I said to you, okay, a guy 26 years old, didn't grow up around rodeo or bull riding, watches, he's athletic. I want to start doing bullfighting. I want to go to school. And I said to you, what are the chances he will be successful and advance in this career? And you said,
0.
Yep. It's different.
It's different. And I mean, especially to get to the top of the game.
Well, and that's what I try to explain to, like, at them camps, them young guys. And Cody's helped me with them camps. And, like, I had him as an instructor when he was 12, because he knew the game. And like a lot of times I was just making him do stuff I didn't want to do or whatever, you know, and you know what I mean? But like,
That's true, though.
but
Yeah,
I wanted him around
Nothing's
it.
changed.
I wanted him around it, you know, but you know what you try to get across to these guys is like, just because Cody grew up around me, that ain't how come he's so good.
Right.
Like maybe it helped, you know, in some ways maybe it didn't, but like it's the work he put into it. It's like what he put in when he wasn't around me. When nobody's watching, what's he doing? He's working at it. You know, if he ain't doing the work, physical work, he's studying bulls. He's studying the whole game. I mean, it's a consuming deal for him, you know, and that was what got me there, you know, like, and it wasn't laying around on the couch living off your parents. You were out working another job and then finding a way to go work out and get to making this dream come true. You know what I mean? And then pretty soon now the dream's taking care of us. So now it's making us a living. But we're still working, you know, and like Cody, when he was young, we were up at daylight every day working cattle, trying to scratch out a living on some other stuff too, you know, so he knew how to work. But then when we got home, we're dog tired. Guess what? Get our shoes on. We got work to do. You know, we go work out. We go fight the dummy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so next thing you know, we're putting in 13-hour days. You know what I mean? Like
Completely, yeah.
You know, the whole day, and he you know, and so like he, you know,
people miss all of that.
People don't get that.
It's
more, you know?
what happens now,
They're
especially
looking for like an easy button,
right? Well,
you know
because we get to the level, this level of touring with the PBR and stuff, and we're on airplanes. We stay in pretty nice hotels. We have a nice locker room, which we haven't always had in our careers at all. And so I've had people, hey, I want to do what you do. Well, hell yeah, you want to do what I do. I'm in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
With a locker room and catering before the show. Well, yeah, you want to do what I'm doing. You know, go to Absaroka, Montana and count 35 people in the crowd during the national anthem and still be anxious to do your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, so I always like your answer, and I've used it a lot with people asking about bullfighting, and you know this. I've been with you, and somebody says, I want to get into bullfighting. 19-year-old kid come up to you one day. How do I do that? And you say, go get a job at a sale yard.
Right.
They're like, huh? And you can see the air go out of the balloon like, that sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And I've said that.
It ain't a lot of fun.
People have this question mark. It's amazing when you're around, and because I got to do it in the arena. I need to know where to be, where not. To learn the mannerisms of large animals, just sorting with the gait. I could see that, like, when you're sorting cattle and you know, if I step this far, they'll cut back. That's just learning animals, isn't it?
And knowing how to be still at the right moment and knowing when to move, you know, and you know, and I was lucky enough to grow up around a lot of really good cowboys. You know, they weren't rodeo, but they were real cowboys, you know, and they took time to kick my ass when I needed it and holler at me when I needed it and tell me I was wrong, but also tell me how to do it right, you know, and all day long they're you know what I mean, doing that, you know, and so like, and I know that gave me an edge, and you know, and that carried over into, you know, what we do now. So
speaking of that, and him around cowboys, and you're around him from when you're 11, 12 years old, was there a time when Frank just amazed you? Like, you got to have stories of sorting cows,
I'm gonna
doing something, and because we all know
he is mellowed out. He is mellowed out a lot because it's great.
We know when Frank gets hooked in the arena or something. Never say, "Hey, you okay?" And then 2 bulls later, I'll walk up and hit him on the shoulder. He meant it, didn't he? You know, joking.
Man, he hits hard.
But Franco, you had to, as a kid, get ass chewings too, and
there's countless. I know when he would leave. I'd be 13, 14 years old. He'd leave, be in like sunny California, hanging out, whatever, and like I'd be 14 years old at home trying to take care of all these cows he had, and but Monday and Tuesday, I'd go do my chores. And then I might say hello or, hey, how'd the weekend go? I was out of there. I get my work done. I was out of there. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Good.
Frank's pretty good. But if we ever had something, if we had something come up on Monday or Tuesday, Well, you talk about dreading it. Like,
I might
hey,
have been a little
hey,
grouchy. Like the PBR, y'all get to see the best part of me.
Right.
When I get home, they get the grouchy, impatient.
I used to get that
and
a lot,
I've gotten
yeah.
a lot better. I've really learned how to be better. But too, like, he's got to, let's get the whole story. Like, because my oldest son was a little younger than him. So, like, here I got these guys.
get the whole story.
And we're trying to pin cattle. And all these two want to do is rope something. I'm like, listen, we're pinning these damn cattle. Anybody can rope one. We don't need just one of them. We need all of them. So like, I had, you had to have their attention, And so there was days I'd get a little grouchy.
A little grouchy. Like, we'd be riding along there, and he'd come up and grab you by the shoulder and start shaking you, or grab you by the leg and start shaking
Get
you.
your head out of you. Weird. Come on now, pay attention.
It's still like it's. I see it. Yeah. But we see that look in the arena, and I do. And
But I got that too. Is it ain't when I was a kid, like believe
Right,
me, them
right.
men were around me doing the same thing. So
I know one thing that I think, and I've told people this. There's a persona about you, Frank Newsom, toughest man alive. Oh, Frank, fearless Frank. You don't like that. That's the impression I get. He's so tough because there's more to life. You have your career has gone a long time. We know you as a guy that has a great pain threshold. But I know when somebody comes to you or talks in front of you about, man, if things go down, I want the toughest man alive, Frank Newsom. That makes you uncomfortable. That's what I see.
I've never really, I didn't come up with that.
Right.
Like there's a lot of other guys that come up with that. And that I just see everybody, that's what they want to focus on. And it's like, dealing with fear in life, that's the part where you step up. You know what I mean? So the way they say it, like I don't have fear, like I don't have to deal with that, or like maybe that pain don't even hurt me. And that's not true. You know what I mean? I deal with that too. And so to me, that's what really makes you, and that's the important part right there is dealing with that fear, and not going away from it, but leaning into it and going and getting your job done, and that's what you try to tell my kids and them young kids that are coming up, like
it's not that you don't have adversity. You learn to deal with adversity, and a lot of that's physical pain, emotional pain, fear.
And mental, and just knowing how to deal with hard stuff,
Yeah.
And that's part of it,
Life's hard.
It is hard.
So how have you stayed, what are you,
46.
46.
Yeah.
And you're still going, still get voted in, which it's a voted position in the PBR. Physically, you've had, I know, I walk behind you in the hallway and it just hurts my one knee because I look at yours. But it's funny walking
Everybody's
down.
like, why you limping? I'm like, I ain't limping. It's
I'm
just
not that,
walking
yeah,
that way. Yeah.
But he looks better physically in the arena moving than walking down the hall.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Like when the crowd looks at Frank sliding in, sliding out, doing things, that's not the Frank we see walking down the hallway, is it?
Just a lot of years of abuse.
Yeah.
What year did we worked the NFR? 98?
I think 98.
It was my first NFR.
Yep.
98. It was Frank, Joe Bumgardner, 2 bullfighters at the time.
Yep.
And we did the PBR finals, 97, 98. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but then we heard some things going on with Frank. And for a few years, Frank wasn't around. And honestly, I look back now, and I thought you were another casualty of this lifestyle.
Yeah.
That honestly, I didn't think I'd ever see Frank again. We did Burwell together. We did the NFR together, maybe a couple rodeos here and there. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. And then started to hear, did you hear Frank Newsom's coming back? Like that probably, you were a great bullfighter, but there was some things not great.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew that. And you went away. Some things happened in your life. That's why you are who you are now.
Yeah.
That formed a lot, speaking of adversity.
Well, and it was just like you said, getting caught up in the lifestyle, getting caught up in sin, and the more I get to know Jesus and the truth about things, it's just sin, and it starts out kind of small, and you know everybody's doing it, you know, drinking or whatever, and next thing you know, it's turning into a lot more than that. And that was me personally. You know, I have an addictive personality, whether it's working out or whether it's whatever it is, and it can be good, but it can go. I can always take things too far, you know.
Right.
And I did, you know, and then like the first time I did drugs, my intentions weren't bad. It was just I was just needing to drive all night and get to a rodeo and wanting to fight bulls good, and I'm banged up and I'm beat up, and this guy's like, "Hey, try this, man. You can drive all night." And all this energy. I was like,
your end result in your mind was
all of a sudden,
good.
It seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
And you know what? It worked, you know. And then, but from that moment, I was just battling that addiction, you know. And it was, I had to hit rock bottom, go to jail, all that stuff, get everything took away from me to really get my attention. And then once I really did, and I was like, and I knew about Jesus as a kid, and I was like, really like, Lord, I need you. I need help. I need you. You know, you're God and I'm not. And then that's when he started showing up, and through other people, you know, I got to learn how to beat that addiction and just get back to the fundamentals, working hard. Had to start over my bullfighting, go back.
You started from scratch.
Yeah, back to the little nothing rodeos, little open rodeos, just working my way up, you know, and earning that trust back with everybody.
I've been thankful, and I think you'll agree with me here. In my career, when I started not fighting bulls, when I started in this business, my influences were Lloyd Ketchum and Joe Bumgartner, you know, and it was a different. I don't know if I can put it delicately. There was a different time in this profession where your role models and influences weren't so positive. Yeah. There were addiction problems, you know, dealing with pain with outside influences. We're lucky.
I think that's what I'm so thankful that I got to go through all that hard stuff because Cody got to hear about the truth his whole life. And a lot of times he was tired of hearing, you know, he might have been tired of hearing about it, but I still fed it to him what the truth about all that lifestyle, you know, and the truth about alcohol and all that, you know.
Right. And
so, like, he, you know, there's probably a lot of days where he was tired of hearing it. And my kids, I know they get tired of hearing it, but
you have that example. That's the influence.
Yeah.
Maybe his influences were kind of that direction you didn't want to go. But how lucky are you? I mean, and even now, you look at the guys he's come up with, Dusty and Nate, and I mean, we could name
just
a lot of
healthier life, you know.
It's different. Yeah. To have that when you're 12 years old, that's driven into you that go the right direction.
Right. Right. And I mean, there's always times that still you got to make, obviously, your own decisions, you know, but just to have that daily reminder, or I guess just growing up and seeing that, you know, is like, I remember like when I first come around, like, he would still go to like these little bitty tiny little bull ridings with me and stuff, and I was like, what? Why? You know, like, this is Frank Newsom, but I really hadn't put together because just that time there, you know, like I was trying to get growing up as a kid, trying to get going, so like really, I never seen him go missing, so to say, I guess is what I'm getting at, you know.
He's always there for.
He was just always like before I met him.
He didn't get to see the bad part. Like,
right, that's
you know. You see him at the NFR, you see him at the bullfights, you see him all this, but then when I actually got to meet him and know who he was,
I was pretty steady on my way back by then,
right?
Know, and
you know,
pretty firm, you know.
Yeah. You know, what I appreciate about you, and I kind of had the conversation with Cody Custer a few episodes ago. Frank's always in the locker room. I've told people, and you know this, that people will ask about, what's this guy like? What's this guy like? And I'll tell them. Frank doesn't say a lot, but when Frank talks, we listen.
Everybody listens.
Everybody listens. It's not it's not, people joke, well, yeah, you're scared of Frank. No, when you talk, you have something to say, and your stuff with, you know, God being in your life and your faith, and I don't outwardly express it. I don't talk about it. I probably should be better about it. But he always there's always insert it. You're strong in your faith, but it's not pushy.
Yeah.
It comes back to real life a little bit. I know we appreciate it.
Well, I know. I mean, just getting to know you too, though. Like, you know, I've seen some stuff where you've been tested, and I'm just kind of back like, wow, you know, that's got to be God. That's got to be something good in there for him to be able to do that. You know what I mean? And so, like, because I'd be like, I don't know if I could be that strong right then, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, so, like, I don't want to push, you know, God is who he is, like, and our Savior's who he is, but it's not for me to push him on nobody, but sure, I want to, you know, lead anybody I can in that direction, you know,
Yeah.
and we all want to end up there, you know?
Yeah. Well, we've had the best ones are when you guys are all gone, it's us two old timers, and that's when our best talk. There's been a lot of times that I was able then to go home and that's that's a better way to go. That's a better way to think about it. We were on the way out here. I picked you guys up in the car, just so people know. You were on the phone with your daughter giving her advice, and I elbowed him. I said,
yeah.
She's
17.
Frank's
She's
giving her
doing
some
so
good advice right there.
There's some moments with her and her mama, you know, like, you know, just normal 17-year-old stuff, you know, but it's like sometimes you got to be dad even when you're 1,000 miles away, you know.
Yeah. You're a grandpa.
I am. I'm a grandpa.
Oh, Grandpa Frank, the best bullfighting grandpa in America.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
What are you going to be called?
Well, I don't know yet. Everybody's asking me that, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm going to let the little kid, when he figures out what he wants to call me, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know, to be honest. I just the other day, he's 2 months old, and the other day I really got to spend some time with him and just really have that time to really bond or whatever you want to call it, you know, and so like we're just gonna go from there and see where we get to.
You know the first word those kids are gonna say, "Hey, baby."
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
As we travel around, and I want to cover some things that there's a lot of people probably downloaded this or watching it on YouTube that probably when we started this, they're thinking, oh, they're going to talk about bulls. And we don't. There's a bigger picture to what we do.
Yeah.
And in our lives, as long as we've been in it. But what are some I think one big misconception is you guys are crazy. That's all the time. Biggest, I mean.
Oh, like you're not the guy that like runs up and slaps the bull and like you run and you jump in the barrel.
Yeah. So here's what I discovered. If you're on an airplane and you say, if I say, well, I'm an entertainer, I'm a rodeo clown. Oh, man, you distract those bulls. No. But if you say, I'm a bullfighter, oh, you're the funny clown. It doesn't matter which one you say.
Or no, oh, you're the one that kills the bull. No.
And the crazy thing, I think fans, that's not, I always say, we all find something we're good at, right? Yeah. And you have a passion for it. You're not, I know you guys, I mean, you're a little crazy, but it's just, it's the culture we grew up
just
in.
A little,
maybe a little wild at, but it is. You just find something you're good at, and then you're passionate about it and pursue it.
Well, and I think people have such a hard time relating. Like they can relate to a football player, because at some point they probably picked up a football. You know what I mean? But we probably take it for granted growing up the way we did. You know.
Yeah.
I remember being a little kid and having to push calves up the alleyway and getting the crap kicked out of you, but you had to figure out a way to do it because the men were up there doing something else, and you know what I mean? So, like, that was just life for us, so you just did it.
Yeah, when we go to New York City,
you know, like, oh, that's a bull. Wow, I never seen one in real life. You know, that's what people are saying. Like, you know, it's hard for us to probably realize where they're coming from. Just like it's hard for them to relate to where we're at.
I remember, you know, I've been New York City taking questions, and I tell people, this is completely foreign to you. You can't relate. That's a good analogy. Somebody had sometimes picked up a basketball, picked up a football.
You know, or shot a basketball. Or
they can't believe that we've grown up around cattle.
Right.
And really, bulls are bovines. Whether you grow up around a herd of beef cattle or the mannerisms and that animal's kind of, it's the same.
There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And I know, like, for, like, my wife, Ashley, and Dia, you know, like, it's constantly, well, I mean, aren't you just scared to death for your husband, you know, or don't you just worry? Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there is some worry in there, and I think, like, we kind of talked a little bit last night, is like being master magicians of the realities that we deal with. But like you say, like, we're not crazy because we've been doing this for so many years. Like, you know, you throw us into a high-rise building and tell us to put together all this accounting, then yeah, we're going to have some problems. But like, they know that we're doing what we're doing. Yeah, it's dangerous, but like, we're really good at what we do, you know?
Yeah, we know what we're doing. And it would be crazy for like somebody that didn't to just step out there.
That's crazy.
That would be crazy because these bulls, they play, you know what I mean? They play for real. They're not going to be like, hey, let's take it easy on this guy. He's a new guy or whatever, you know? Like, they do what they do, and you got to do what you do.
Do you feel a pressure every night? I know. I've seen probably the maddest I see you guys, because he has that look too. What's that look?
Is that frustration? One got by you.
You do it, and it's not about you getting hooked. It's about a guy.
Yeah.
Do you feel, is there a pressure or anxiety, or does it weigh on you? Does it keep you up at night? That pressure to have a responsibility.
Well, that's
to
my
protect
biggest
a
fear.
person.
Like, as far as fear goes, like, for the bulls, bulls really don't scare me. Like, I guess that's an easy way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, bulls, the actual bull itself does not keep me up at night and just shake me to where I anxiety or whatever. But I think the biggest fear that I have is not making that save. And when you really tie things together and the situations that we've seen and just the reality of death is a part of what we do, you know, and that's serious, you know, and I think a lot of people forget that, and it's easy to start kind of scaling back and maybe trying to take care of yourself versus ultimately throwing yourself in the line of fire every time. But that's my biggest fear is not making that save, knowing that the realities of this can be.
I've been asked,
honestly,
you know, what's the best part of your job? What's the hardest part of your job? And I always forget, but through the years, I've thought maybe the hardest part of my job, and I hate to think we get used to it. You do kind of grow callous to it, but I think the hardest part of my job is seeing my friends get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen you get knocked out, and Frank's pissed when he wakes up, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Like, get me out of here. He's like, Frank's got knocked out. Get away from him. Just leave him alone. Yeah. But it's hard to see people you care about get hurt. Like I said, I don't like to say we've gotten used to it, but that's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's a real difficult, whether it's a broken leg or a concussion. I don't think real everyday life, I don't think they deal with that very well.
Yeah, it's not as common, and like you said, you know that's part of what we do, but at the same time, you know, you hate to. It sucks, you know, and there just ain't no way around it. But like too, you know, like we go into that day knowing that we did everything we could to be at our best, and we're focused on that job. You know what I mean? And so you know you're gonna give it your best, even if you mess up. But you see that moment of frustration, and that helps us. You know, we're going to be a little better that next bull, or we're going to try to be, you know, you just try to rise to that level.
Some nights it's like that the whole time. Like, you're
some nights you just get there and it's there, and you know you're at that level. You're at that, we call it the zone, where you're just in that zone, and you know, and there's a lot of nights where it takes, you know, you're struggling almost all night to get in that zone.
We've talked about that intermission.
And you're still, you know, it may be, and you're not at your best when you first start out, but you're still better than most anybody else, you know, and you're still doing a pretty good job, but you're just trying to push yourself into that next level.
Well,
where you really want to be. You know?
Clint Atkins, who we work with, an announcer,
CA.
The CA. He always says, he's friends with Tracy Bird and his band and some different guys, and they say, hey, man, if the bass player's kind of off that night, the rest of the band picks it up and picks him up and covers for him. Yeah. Same thing. Yep. If you're a little off, Webb's on.
Yeah, but then that teamwork's there, and one guy can be a little weak, and another guy can be a little bit stronger. But then again, we can get into a fresh set of hot bulls, and like them bulls will push you.
Yeah.
past that point, you know, and
man, how do you distract
just so
them?
much
How
ups
you
and
guys
downs.
distract them bulls? You move.
Yeah.
Basically, bulls.
Give them a target.
To us, it's an easy thing because we're around it. But how do you distract the bulls? Movement.
Yeah.
All you take, and I've seen it, you know, I throw my hat as a joke mostly, but I have been in cases where I throw that palm leaf hat and that bull's here and he'll do this. And, but it's movement. There's not a,
And there's
hey,
been,
bull,
there's
hey,
been
bull.
times being in the fight and see a palm leaf hat go right there.
I'm here to help.
Almost take your head
I'm
off.
saving lives. Saving lives.
Last night, I don't know if he's seen us. I think he's trying to climb the fence. Shocker. But, like, you threw that hat and that bull, and that hat almost hit me. So as you was running from the bull, I picked it up and chunked it back at you.
I didn't see the whole thing. My back was turned running.
Yeah.
I was running.
I don't know why. I just kept running.
I just kept running. I always compare it to when people ask about, man, you guys are running around out there. And maybe you've heard this analogy I use. If somebody who doesn't know anything about football is watching a football game, it looks like 22 guys just running around out there.
Chaos.
And I know that's what parents see when you're a football coach. But we know, if you've coached football, if you've played football, you know that everybody has a place to be on that field at a certain time in a certain situation. Yep. 3 bullfighters out there or 2 bullfighters, same thing. You all work. It's a play. I mean, you can't draw it up ahead of time
Teamwork.
necessarily, but it's a team and you all have, it's not as much chaos as people think that don't know much about it.
Well, and just somebody sitting in the stands. I mean, it's easy to see just it. Yeah, absolutely. It looks like chaos going on. But, like, you know, there's so many. The game is so slow for us. Like, you know, I can see particles coming off a bull's hoof of dirt coming at my face and be able to close my eyes and let the dirt hit me in the face and then open my eyes and not have dirt in my eyes for the rest of the ride, you know, like to see little particles of dirt flying off a bull's hoof that fast, you know, it's crazy. You can see the snot flying through the air. You can, like, it's just so slow motion, you know, and
but the great
like, it's
football player,
so cool.
NFL football players, great quarterbacks, you know when they become great, when the game slows down. Yeah. And that's same with you guys. I can't, it's done it with me. But that's the key. Everything's got to slow down. You see bullfighters who are so fast and so quick. And I remember back in the day, I was working with Lloyd Ketchum and Mike Matt. Mike Matt was as athletic a bullfighter as I've ever seen. And I remember Lloyd going, hey, slow down. Yeah. You're too fast. What do you mean? You're too fast. Yeah. Slow down. The game's got to slow down, doesn't it?
You got to be available.
Yeah.
You know, a bull's vision's down and he's bucking and everything that's going on. Like, if you just go flying through a hole, I mean, they may not ever even see you, much less pick up on you, you know, so.
We had a conversation. You had left. It was last night, after Friday night of Billings, Montana. We end up sitting in the locker room. We had Richard Jones, who's production and music, Brad Narducci, who's music and production, Clint Atkins and Matt West, announcers, and me and you. And somebody had given us a gift of some cinnamon whiskey of some sort. And that's not a thing, but we had cups and we each put maybe an inch in a cup. And we sat there for an hour last night as we filmed this. And we talked, I wrote something down. I think the big picture was it's way easier to get to the top than it is to stay on top. You went to the top once. Yep. You had to go back down and come back to the top. It's the climb is exciting. You're the new guy. You're this and the drive, and you get there. Then what do you do? Yep. Right? That's the secret.
You got to find ways to stay motivated, you know. And we were talking about that too. Like, you've always got to be, you know, what worked for me 5 years ago is different than what's working now, you know. And you know, just finding that grabbing hold of whatever that is, that one thing is right now that's motivating me. You know what I mean? And holding on to it and letting that motivate me right now. You know, and it's not trying to be who I was last year or the year before. It's who am I right now? You know, and how am I going to battle today? You know, how am I going to do today? You know, and also too, like the big thing for me is like Cody and Lucas. You know, like just that camaraderie. Like I've had it a few times in my career where that you got that team of guys, and you know, like there's that family, there's that closeness, there's that, you know, just that unity, you know, of a team, you know, and we've got that, you know, and like that drives me. That's a motivation, you know.
Yeah, there was times in my career the locker room wasn't fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of times, and you got stuck working with somebody, and it was hard, you know, and there was a lot of times, you know, where the locker room, even at the top level, wasn't that much fun. You just had to figure out a way to do it.
Well, that comes back to what we talked about earlier. You had that to learn from, and that's a guy that can tell you, okay, now don't get caught up in that. You're there.
Yeah.
You got a wife now. You got a place. Sometimes you get to where this job is over here because you got all this other stuff going. So you got to balance that too, the family, the stuff at home, cattle or whatever, with this job. And that, because as you're climbing, you're saving money, you're buying stuff, you're getting a place, you get to the top, then you have this other place, and a lot of times that can take priority and you forget about that job that got you there too.
Well, and you see that all the time. And I you know, something that really strikes me that's always on my mind is like all the supporters of Cody Webster that there is, all the fans, my team that there is. But on the flip side of that, you know, with the phones, the TV, the being at the top level, you know, there's a whole lot of people that are just waiting for you to stumble or you know, become complacent and he used to have it, he ain't got it no more. And that is something that really, really drives me.
It's a fear of mine.
You know, like when I'm ready to quit, I'm gonna quit, and I'm still gonna be at the top of my game. You know, and if I'm not at my top of my game, and I can feel that going on, then it's gonna be time to get out of this, because, like we said, when the reality on the flip side of it is so serious, you have to be all in or you have to be all out, and that's my personal opinion on it.
And I explained to you last night where we got the tap in thing. We tap in, but it's tapping into here, tapping into that guy that was 12 years old.
And I didn't know that.
He didn't know the background.
I didn't know the story on that.
It's a Junior Seau, who ended up killing himself. He told us, when those guys get to the NFL, they say tap in. Tap into the guy that didn't have the fancy car, didn't have the mansion, because that gets you jaded. Yeah. That's it. Tap into the kid in high school that all you ever wanted to be.
Tap into that 11 years old with them broke ribs.
Broke ribs that all you wanted to be was a bullfighter. That's all you wanted. You got to tap into that guy, because we can get jaded. Oh, geez, this sponsorship deal isn't right, and I should be making that. You get jaded, which is all part of the business. Don't get me wrong. But then pretty soon, you're grouchy doing your job too. It affects
And then
everything.
you're grouchy, and then the whole locker room's grouchy, and then the whole show just sucks.
Then it goes to hell, and there we just go home.
I'm out of here. This show. I'm just kidding.
I don't know if people. I remember when Brett Favre was going to retire. Then he didn't retire. Then he was going to retire, and then he went to the Vikings. Then he went to the Jets. Then this Brett Favre. Anybody, I get it. If you've never been in a locker room, you can't speak on it, because it isn't playing the game that you miss the most. It's not fighting bulls. It's not the crowds. What everybody says you miss the most is the locker room.
Yeah. That's
like brother. I'm closer with you guys than some of my family.
Yeah.
And that's it's a sacred place. Like, there's people that come in there. I'm like, how'd you get in here? And I'm not being a dick.
Right.
Somebody, like,
for once.
Wait, for what? For once. It's a private, there's a lot goes on in there that you just can't wander in and pick up on it.
No, it's a special place.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of truth there too, and like it is something that, that happens to us weekly, like even Frank being where he's at, and then on the flip side where I'm at, and how many years and how many bulls we fought together. But there's still that point of when a guy's slacking or a guy, hey man, what the hell's going on with you tonight?
Step it up.
Hey,
It isn't always funning it. It isn't always rainbows and unicorns.
Well, we've always had that communication,
Yeah.
and like that's what I thrive. I love it, and Cody does.
There's some days I'm like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't say that. I might get my ass whipped after the show.
But I value that, because there's a lot of guys that wouldn't tell me, hey, why are you on your heels? Why ain't you more aggressive today? What's going on? And Cody's always been that, whatever we were doing, and I've always valued that from him.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as these young guys are coming up, sometimes I'm like, shit, Cody, just give him a chance, because he's pretty harsh, and I guess I was that way too, and I think I am they say I'm getting a little softer or whatever, but, as far as, you want to give that guy that chance, but Cody, like, he's had that sharp eye, like, he ain't trying, he'll just bail right into just,
Come on,
that guy
man.
down,
Come on.
and I'm like, shit, Cody, give him a minute,
It's-
let's try to at least give him a chance.
We through the year that locker room thing, we've through the years have had reporters come in and they'll sit and it's like, all right, get them out of here now, because they'll be like, man, what do you
That's
guys?
enough,
What's the meanest bull? What's this? What has happened is you got this thing in the locker room, and it's getting before game time, and somebody comes in and screws it up. It's like, we don't want to.
No, you got to get mentally, physically, spiritually, everything that leads up to that first gate opening. Whatever that routine is that is working, or that routine that ain't working, you've got to figure out. And there's some days that I feel like I can just walk in there, don't have to warm up, I don't have to do nothing, and it happens. Like we're right in the zone, we're right where we need to be. But then there's days that ain't working, and you got to go, whatever it is, go get on the bike and get a good sweat broke, or get whatever it takes to get to that point is what it takes.
Well, and then that communication in that locker room where, like you're getting to that familiar place where with each other, or you're jacking with each other, or you're, talking, hey, what's going on? How's your week? You know what I mean? Or something, but it just helps you get in that spot where you're ready to go do what you do.
And the whole deal with Lucas,
And
right
you got
now.
some reporter guy that's asking a stupid question. You're like, all right, enough. See you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's our time now,
The whole deal with Lucas right now, like he's his worst enemy right now.
Lucas
'cause
Teodoro, he's from Brazil.
He's thinking too much about it. He's
Well, he wants to be
just
so good,
scared of messing
and
up.
It's like, dude, you're here for a reason. We want you here, man. Like, just relax.
And so people know.
Let's go be that.
So there might be a little bit more jacking around going on in the arena right now, because if we can keep his mind off of
I made fun of him one night here in Billings. Finally, I never would make, and he fell down, and I made fun of him, and I did that as a
Dirt monster
Now you're
reached
part
up
of
and
now.
grabbed him.
Dirt monster grabbed, and so I thought, here, see, now you're part of the deal. But and people may not know this, but because I get asked all the time, where's this guy? Where's Shorty? I talked to Shorty right before we did this, by the way. And I miss that, we all miss each other. But it's a voted.
Every time I post anything, it's where's Shorty going?
It's a voted position. The Bull Riders pick you guys to be on this tour. And that's why the top, you three, you two and Lucas, Jesse Byrne was in the top four. He's been in Canada and has, now with things going. Anyway, so it's the ultimate show of respect when the Bull Riders select you. They're the guys that go, man, when I get on this bull, here's these list of names. When I get on this bull, I don't know if you ever think about it this way. When I get on this bull, who are the guys that I would put my life in their hands? Frank, Cody. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. That's kind of a pretty good way to.
It's pretty cool,
Yeah. Well, listen, we have work to do later today, but I mean, I always tell people those guys are my brothers. Like,
I wish I could say the same about you, Flint.
and you say that Flint, he's my old uncle. But I always appreciate it. Like, that's my most peaceful place I am in life. Whatever
I think
turmoil,
all of us are.
whatever turmoil's going on in life, it's the locker room and the arena is the most peaceful part of my day, because that's where we are at home, and that's our kind of
It's the
the
easiest.
safe place. So, well, listen, we'll do a few more performances together, probably, as always. You know, I want safety for you guys, but you know, I'm there throwing the hat.
Oh, I just can't wait.
Fellas, I appreciate it. Cody Webster, Frank Newsom, thanks for the hour. Appreciate it.
Love you, man.
See you next episode. Thanks, everybody.